All
right. I will try and speak up as loud as
Thank you.
All right. Just quite an afternoon because we're bringing together old laws and new laws. Absolutely. But the meeting tonight is extremely important. There are aspects of the open meeting law that apply. The Department of Revenue had some direction for us, and there's also notary law. And to make sure that we were on track, we had one of the assistant county attorneys work with us for a little bit this afternoon, and he's given us a process that we should follow this evening. And it's maybe a little bit more involved than what we have had in recent years, but we have two of our members that are working with us on our board this evening that are working with us remotely, and the balance of our committee is here. So we want to make sure that each of you is clearly taking the oath and that you're clearly introduced this evening. So here's the recommended process. The oath of office is going to be kind of a roll call, and we'll be asking for your name, your commissioner or other office that you hold, your district, and if you're participating in person or remotely. You'll probably say, Bob, can't you see? But it's for the record, and it's extremely important. So after the introductions, we'll do the oath of office for the Board of Appeals and Equalization. And at that point, you'll be able to get underway with your work. So at this point, let's start with the commissioners, and if you would each introduce yourself. I'll call your first name. Please state your full name and your district, and again, where you are at this evening, either at the commissioner in-person meeting or you're with us remotely. So Chris, we'll start with you.
Chris Meyer, Commissioner from District 1 of Winona County. I am participating by remote access this evening.
And you're with us, to be clear, remotely this evening.
That is correct.
Thank you. Right, Marie?
Okay, Commissioner Marie Kelsey, District 2, and I'm participating remotely.
Okay, and Marie, we didn't catch your last name. Could you repeat that?
Yes, Marie Kavesi.
All right, thank you, Marie. All right, Steve.
Steve Jacob, District 3, and I'm participating at the county boardroom.
Thank you. Greg?
Greg Olson, Commissioner, District 4, participating in the boardroom.
And Marcia?
Marcia Ward, District 5, sitting here at the county board room meeting.
All right, Sandra?
Sandra J. Supla, Auditor Treasurer, participating in person at the county board.
Okay, and those are the official members of the board this evening. And I also just quickly want to recognize Steve Hacken for all the work and effort that he has put into the agenda this evening. All right, the next step will be the oath of office, and we'll have each person here stand, raise your right hand, and our two remote commissioners, we'd ask that you join us and stand and have your right hand raised. And we'll go one by one and say I and your name, and we'll start again with Chris. I.
Chris, you're muted.
Yes, and this is for the oath of office, so we want to have each commissioner publicly recognized, and your oath starts with I and your name.
I, Chris Meyer.
All right, Marie.
Marie.
Marie, if you would state I and your name for the oath.
Marie, say I and your name.
You're muted, Marie.
I didn't hear any of that. I didn't have audio. I was just mimicking. I saw people holding their right hand up, and so I held my right hand up. So I don't know what you just did. All right.
Marie Kavesi.
Marie Kavesi.
All right. And then we'll have Greg.
I, Greg Olson.
And Steve.
Hi, Steve Jacob.
And Marcia.
I, Marcia Ward.
And Sandra. All right. And then if you'll repeat after me as a group, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
solemnly
that I
swear
will support
that I will
that
support
I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the
the
Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the
the
Constitution
Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will perform the duties
and that I
and that I
will
will
perform the
perform the duties
of the Board of Appeals and Equalization
of the
of the
Board of
Board of
Appeals and
Appeals and
Equalization
Equalization
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best
to
of
the
my
best of
knowledge
my
and
knowledge
ability.
and ability.
so help me God.
So help
So
me
help
God.
me God.
Great, there we've completed the oath for this evening, and very best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, let's see, which was the agenda on one of these?
At this point, you need to elect a chair
Oh,
and
that's right.
secretary.
Yeah, just a second. I'm looking for you had two different emails. Trying to use technology here. Okay.
You're looking for nominations for a chairperson?
Yes.
Chris Meyer, will nominate Marcia Ward as a chairperson for this meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a nomination for Chair Ward as
Chair.
it's chair, it's a chairship, right? I can't find the agenda of the Board of Appeals and Equalization for Winona County. Made by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Olson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? If not, all those in favor of the motion indicate, well, we better do a roll call. Commissioner Meyer,
Commissioner Meyer, aye.
Commissioner Kavesi,
Commissioner Kavesi, aye.
Commissioner Olson,
Commissioner Olson, aye.
Commissioner Jacob,
Commissioner Jacob, aye.
Commissioner Ward. I guess I'll go with the flow. Aye. So that passes. Okay, so Commissioner Ward is the chair. We need a vice chair
Secretary.
or secretary.
But I believe Heidi's taking minutes, so it's an easy job this year.
Okay.
Who was the chair last, or the secretary last year?
It typically is the auditor. I mean, the secretary is typically the auditor.
I'll nominate Sandra Sukla.
Commissioner Meyer will second that.
Okay, we have a nomination for Sandra Sukla to be the secretary, made by Commissioner Olson, seconded by Commissioner Meyer. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? We'll proceed to vote. Roll call. Commissioner Meyer,
Meyer says aye.
Kavesi,
Kavesi says aye.
Olson,
Olson says aye.
Jacob,
Jacob, aye.
and Ward, aye. So Sandra is the
Just a
secretary.
point, you need
Yes.
to, Ms. Sukla's a voting member.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Ms. Sukla. Okay. All right. Thank you. I apologize. For some reason, I cannot find the agenda.
I don't have the agenda here either. You gave
I
me
know
the
you
packet,
s-
but there's no.
I don't have an agenda either.
No,
I
I was looking for it.
Well, no, just go. Just read us through it. That's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
lead us
I
through.
saw it in an email, but I
Yeah,
can't.
it was in the email.
Well, I do, but I get attached documents, but that's not one of the four. Wait, here's some more. Hold on.
That was in there?
Well, just a second. There's.
Because
Oh,
I was looking.
Include an agenda because I thought it came out in your other, with your other.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw it
It
somewhere.
would have come from
Okay.
administration.
Yeah. Okay.
Agenda online.
Yeah, but, under agendas. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for an email. Okay, what's the next item? I
Yeah.
apologize.
Next item, we have no property owners here this evening, so our next item will be my annual report. Can you guys hear me?
yes, I can.
Can you hear me,
Yes.
Marie?
Yes.
Perfect. Nobody says they can't hear me usually, so that's good. I think probably the biggest change we made this year was farmland was decreased approximately 5% countywide throughout the county. That's based upon the sales within the county of farmland. 2B land, which is typically woods, was decreased from 3,250 to 3,000. Last year we went from 2,500 to 3,250. So it was a huge increase last year. The number settled in a little bit more this last year, so it got reduced to 3,000. Both of our tillable numbers and our woods numbers are typical for the region. We're very similar in values to Fillmore. In fact, I know we're really close to Fillmore for some reason, I might know, but and Houston, we're also quite close. So the land values in southeast Minnesota right now, at least in this corner, are pretty typical for the for the entire 4 or 5 counties in this corner. The base rate for houses was increased to $122 a square foot. The state time adjustment for residential properties was 2.7 in Winona, 4.1 in the remainder of the county. St. Charles City has a lot to do with why it's higher out of Winona than it is in Winona. The markets in St. Charles continue to jump significantly. Real expensive housing in St. Charles right now. I would say X house in Winona, X house in St. Charles is probably worth more in St. Charles today than it is in Winona. And that has never been the case in the 20-some years I've been here. So Rochester has everything to do with that. When I was in Fillmore County, Chatfield has the exact same situation down there. So it's kind of where it's at today due to Rochester. Sales ratios are all acceptable. On the second page of the report lists all of our districts in the county, at least 6 sales. If you look at that page, let's go back real quick on new houses. In 2018, there were 67. In 2019, there were 55. Our houses have been pretty flat since after 2008. So, it is kind of what it is. They're always in the 50s or 60s in most years. On the ratios on page 2, where it says ratio, that's where our ratio is, our value compared to sale price after we adjusted values for the 2020 assessment. The numbers on the right-hand side of the page were before we adjusted the assessment. Generally, we like to be between 95 and 97%. It puts us in the middle of our acceptable range, which seems to be the best spot for us to be. Commercial properties, we're at 100.91. That's only on 21 sales. So that number tends to jump around a little bit. Agricultural vacant land, we are at 98.76, and rural vacant land at 94.25. On the rural vacant side, there's one sale in there that's causing that to not be at the 96 or 97. That happens. So the ratios seem to be fine. Again, any district that had 6 sales stands on its own. Anything under 90, state's coming in and raising you. Anything over 105, state's going to come in and lower you. So we don't have any of those. Increases over 20% generally. If we do it, this results in no changes. Farmland values, especially tillable, may be changed by the state. Border values with adjoining counties are not within 10%. Utility and railroad values are state assessed properties and are equalized depending on our commercial sales ratio. I want to spend a second talking about that. The state is going to come in, and when I'm talking public utilities, we're talking pipelines, electric lines, and railroads. If my commercial ratio is under 90%, whatever the state says they're worth gets reduced by whatever percent we are under 100. So as long as if we're over 90. So if we're at 95, we're fine. If we're at 89.9, we lose 10.1% of our utility values. Utility values are really important to our tax base, and we think it's really important that we don't get equalized utility values. So that's one of the reasons we're very interested in our commercial industrial ratio being as near to 100% as possible, so we don't end up with any issues on our utilities.
Is some of this coming from the commercial business, or I should say, let's back up, the pipeline issues in northern Minnesota?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a huge deal. I'm sure you've heard about it at AMC.
Yeah.
I think it's Clearwater County, they lost 25% of their tax base over this. And, and again, that's an issue. The state sets the values and we can't change those. Whatever they tell me they are, that's what they are. But I think some of the issues up there are a lot more to do with the state than to do with what the county did. It's just the county has to deal with them. We've had some refunds on utility properties. They're certainly not to that extent. But I mean, how this works is once they settle with them or they go to court or whatever, all at once we get a memo from revenue one day that says, here's how much you're going to reduce each of these. And it's non-appealable. It is out of our hands. So,
But that whole thing with the pipeline and everything is still in court, right?
yeah, there's
We
a
have-
whole bunch of
there's
stuff
no-
in court.
There's been no resolution to any of
Not
that,
those big ones.
right? And what the counties may have to pay back.
Right,
or
there's
credit
appeals
or-
going on and everything else at this point. But it seems to be right now, the big bad ones are a northern Minnesota issue, much more than a southern Minnesota issue.
Yep.
You know, those pipelines go through those counties. The advantage we have in Winona County is we have $5.4 billion worth of value. A lot of these smaller counties up north, I know when I was in Pine County, we'd have townships that 30% of the township's value is the pipeline. So when it becomes that much of their value, it's really bad when something happens to it.
Local.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're fortunate here. We don't have that situation here because we've got a lot of value here. So that's kind of like that. Again, any state board orders are not subjected to appeal. We're having no state board orders, so that's not an issue. Border reviews, let me talk about how border reviews went this spring. They were all virtual. And we had a number of our districts not want to do them virtual, so they just canceled them. When they cancel them, they go to open book, which means we can still deal with the property owners. And, we dealt with a lot of them. The districts that went open book are prohibited from having a meeting for 2 years. That's under state law. So next year, any of these districts, Homer, Utica Township, these districts that canceled their meetings, they can't have a meeting next year. But the year after, they can reapply and have their meetings back if they wish after.
Now, is Winona County doing all townships? Is there any
We do the whole
private-
county right now.
Right,
correct.
everybody else retired and so we.
Yep.
We do.
Yeah, we have agreements with all of our cities and townships. So every district has somebody from my office assigned, with the exception of Winona, where we have 4 of my appraisers doing different functions in Winona just because it's so large and you just can't assign one person. Everywhere else has one person assigned to the district. So that, the board members and the property owners know who their contact with our county is. So we made a number of changes on open book, which we can make up until 10 days prior to this meeting. So, and when we make those changes, we want to make sure the property owners and us are on the same page. So we always make sure that the property owners and us are in agreement on these when we do them. So that seems to work out pretty well for us. So with that said, we only had 2 contacts at border review the whole year. We had one in Rolling Stone Township and one in the city. Tax court updates, all of our favorite topics. The good news is nobody new sued us this year. Bad news is everyone who sued us last year sued us again this year. So, but we've had some progress. Right now, let's talk Walmart. Right now, our Walmart is sitting in the Court of Appeals. They filed in district court some new way of trying to get counties. And the district court ruled in our favor on that, but they appealed it to the Court of Appeals. The hearing up there was held in March, so I'm not certain when they're going to come up with a decision on that. But Martin County and Winona County were put together as one on that. We're represented by the same outside counsel on that case, and both of them were heard at the same time. So That apparently saves us quite a bit of lawyer money by splitting the cost with two counties on that. So we don't know what's going to happen there.
So, I'm sorry, Martin County, what town was this?
Fairmont.
Fairmont had a Walmart, okay.
So we're in collaboration with them on this whole thing. Last week in the Twin Cities on Walmart, Anoka County won a couple motions against Walmart. Walmart wanted a jury trial in district court, and the tax court said, no, it stays in tax court. And then they threw out a couple years because they didn't file something quite right. So it's just a real struggle everywhere. If you have one of these big box stores, you're pretty much guaranteed to be litigated on them all the time. It's just how the world is today.
So how did we get paired with Martin County? I mean, and saving some resources, is that from auditor to auditor you figured
No,
that out,
actually
or-
what happened was the attorney was representing both of us. And so he got them combined. And, because every time I talk to him, I complain at him how much he cost us. So he's really tried hard to find ways to, offset some of his costs. He's pretty expensive, but he's probably the best guy we have in the state working for our side on that. And, I think sometimes what happens is, like he put it one day, he said, every county takes their turn having to fight one of these issues. He said, Anoka has saved your guy's tail a lot of times, depending on some others. He says, this one is your turn. And it's that whole district court thing where they want to go back to 13 saying that we violated their civil rights and all kinds of foolishness. But, so that's what we're dealing with Walmart. We had Whitewater LLC. That's a grain property in the city of Utica. They were being assessed as commercial property. They wanted to get this art farm. They were not in a legal entity to be a farm. They've changed that. So at that point, we got 1 year dismissed, and we agreed with them in the future on that. So there was no refund on that. And Goodwill and Fleet Farm have each dismissed 1 year out there. So they just let it go. So there's, it doesn't cut, there's nothing on those. But there's still 2 years of Fleet Farm and 2 years of Goodwill out there. But the pay 18 year was dismissed by both. So that's kind of our thing with tax court and our values. If you look at the tiny one that I need a magnifying glass to read, values are up 1.55% countywide. New construction is up 79% this year. There's really 3 properties that have made new construction up 79%. We have the mixed use property across from our old building that's owned by Bob Kierland and his corporation. We have a $14 million apartment building that went up next to the assisted living in Winona National on Mankato. And we had a partially completed clinic on the old Kmart site by Gunderson Lutheran that has $22 million worth of permits out on that right now. That property is just about complete out there. Phase 2 over on 4th and Main is being built now. If you drive by there, they're putting up more apartments. Pretty much they're done. I think the clinic opened last week over there. And so, some real expensive properties that we haven't seen anything like those in the 23 years I've been here. So,
And how much value did that, will that
well,
add?
when it's done, I would assume all, that one in Gunderson, I mean, they're going to be between 15 and 20 million. They're expensive properties.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where that is. Farms are down 3.75%. Rural vacants down 6.72. Res is up 5% approximately. Commercial industrial is up 5%, and apartments are up 6.55%. A lot of the increase on apartments and commercial is not revaluation, it's new construction. The residential, much of that is revaluation. The residential market in this county continues to be real good. There's more buyers than there's sellers, especially in certain price ranges.
So 5.4 billion represents the total.
That's
value.
how much taxable market value is in the county.
And you said utilities account for 5.1 billion?
No,
Didn't you say that earlier?
He did.
five, no, I don't, no, it's not that much.
Well, that's what I thought.
No, public utilities are way lower than
I heard you say
that. Oh,
5.1.
I'm sorry, then I must have misspoke.
5.1 billion, because when I
No.
saw this, I'm like, those numbers don't seem
No,
right.
it's, no, it's
Okay.
5-6% of our value for the county, somewhere around there.
That's what I would have guessed. Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
Yeah,
Meyer.
oh, so just to clarify, Steve, so we have 57 million in new construction value this year.
Yep.
Yep.
And almost all of it's in the city of Winona and the city of St. Charles.
Yeah, it looks like there's a, yeah, and in Wilson as well, right?
And where?
And there's $1 million in Wilson.
I'm trying to think, John, you know.
Yeah, new construction. on your-
Yeah. Do you have any idea what we're looking at for 2021 or no?
I'm really struggling hearing you. I'm sorry.
Do you have any idea what we're looking at for 2021?
Yes, we will finish the property on 4th and Main. We will finish the big building at their 102 Walnut is supposed to be finished. That's a office building that's being redone there. The
Yep.
difference with that one though is that's in a tax increment financing district.
Sure, yeah.
So even though we'll account for the value, it won't hit the general thing. And, you know, my understanding is there's still plans of starting the Fastenal property this year yet. And that building will certainly be in excess of 20 million based
Wow.
on plans that I've seen from them.
Any activity on the Shopco?
Shopko's weird because a bunch of them have sold around the state. There hasn't been a peep on this one. You go online and look for it, there's nothing. So either somebody has grabbed it and it just hasn't been, you know, recorded or whatever, because like I know they sold a couple in St. Cloud, the one in Dodge, the one in Manorville sold. You know, they've sold a bunch of them, but not a peep on this one. Pretty nice property.
Manorville had a shop.
I mean, yeah, Castle,
Castle.
yeah. Little guy. They call him a home thing. They're like 30,000 square feet, whereas the one that we have is about 90,000 square feet. So they're really kind of a different store.
How many Dollar Generals have we had built in the county? Couple anyway,
Two,
right? Two.
Lewis and St. Charles.
Lewiston.
And they both have sold after they were built for both of them well over $1 million apiece. I mean, stuff's expensive today. I mean, building a house today is expensive, and you know, putting up commercial properties are expensive. Land values for commercial, especially in Winona. I mean, we haven't had a land sale in Winona for commercial for 5 years, probably under $10 a square foot. And for farmers, that's $435,000 an acre. So,
Although,
that-
stay tuned. We don't know what COVID and the economy.
absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges my office is going to have in 2020 is determining on commercial properties, you know, what the market's going to do with being closed and, you know, all this uncertainty. I think it's going to be a real difficult assignment for us this fall.
It looked like, Bob, did you have something that you wanted to add? Bob, we need you to come to the mic, please. Thank you.
Early on, we were getting up to 7 calls a day wanting to know who purchased Shopko. And one of the reasons for it was that buses were loading there to take people to Rochester for employment. So the public was seeing that and thought there was already some new activity. It's really dropped off, and we've been told by countless numbers of people that the store is sold, but we've had nothing come through. So I'm right with Steve on what his thoughts are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So, do you guys have any other questions on anything? If that would be, I've included in your packets, there's what our rural land schedule is and what our rural sales that we use to determine values this year. So that would end my report unless you have any further questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Then I would say the next thing we would want to do is act on the assessor's consent change list. We have 5 parcels that we're bringing in. What happened this year was we had sent out valuation notices toward the end of March like we always do. Except by the time they went out, we couldn't go out and look at anybody's property by then. So we had talked to these districts that had border review and said, look, we've got folks that, we've promised that we'll go out and look at, but we can't do it now. Is it okay if we deal with them when we can and bring them to county board? All our districts said, yeah, that's fine. So we have 1 in St. Charles, 1 in Wilson, 1 in St. Charles, and 3 in Winona. They were sent out to you.
Were those all residential or is that commercial?
They are all residential.
Residential?
And so we.
That was in one of the, Steve, it was in one of the attachments.
Didn't pass it out here.
No,
No,
not
it's in
today.
one of the attachments.
I can read them if you'd like. We didn't put people's names in for privacy. Parcel 18,033,0120 in Wilson, that's in Springbrook. I know that reduced from 415,9 to 396,6. 29,074,190 in St. Charles, 364,6 to 330,600. 32,275,030 in Winona, 147,8 to 135, 32,315, 1013 in Winona, 158,8 to 149,3, and 32,514, 0530 in Winona, 536,9 to 458,1. That one, we had done the original assessment off a set of plans because the property wasn't done. They changed a lot of the stuff around. They put a screen porch instead of a family room in. They did a bunch of things different. And until we got out and looked at it again this spring, we weren't aware of that. So that was the reason for the large change on that. So generally what we do is have a motion to act on the consent changes as a whole.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Olson, second by Commissioner Jacob to approve the amended assessor recommendations. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Meyer,
Meyer votes A.
Commissioner Kavesi,
Commissioner Kavesi votes aye.
Commissioner Olson,
Olson, aye.
Jacob,
Jacob, aye.
Sander Sukla. Okay, and Commissioner Ward votes aye. So that's approved. All right.
Okay, no property owner appeals, so at this point, I believe we have completed our duties for this evening.
All right. So entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Olson, second by Commissioner Jacob to adjourn. I think we'll just do a total vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, we are adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank